Welcome back, my curious friends! Just when many were about to throw in their 2 cents into the argument and constant discussions about social prejudice of social media and, well, the internet in general, we came across the story of Carlo Acutis, the Italian teenager who lost his life at the age of 15 and who has been just beatified by the Catholic Church on October 10th. Now, you're probably wondering why, right? Well, as it turns out, at such a young age, this boy is credited with converting a couple of people to Catholicism, one of them being his own mother. Not to mention that it is also said that it is thanks to him that a Brazilian boy was able to cure himself of a strange illness. But why did the ecclesiastical authorities have to go out and disprove such rumors about Carlo's body? Who was responsible for the unquestionable faith of this boy? I will answer all of your questions in a moment, but before we continue, don't forget to hit the bell and the subscription button so you always stay up to date with our videos. You may be surprised that we've chosen this kind of topic to talk about when in the past we've pretty much stuck to the known and famous faces and the juicy gossip they always provide us with. But remember, what is this channel called? Well, for that very reason, on this occasion we wanted to talk to you about a topic that we have found quite interesting, and it made us, well, curious. The story of Carlo Acutis begins on May 3rd of 1991 in London, England. That was the day that his parents, Andrea Acutis and Antonia Salzano, Italians by birth, received him into their home. He was a happy little boy like many others of his age. However, when he was 4 years old, he surprised his mother by asking her to take him to a church in Milan, the city where the Acutis family had moved to shortly after he was born. But that's not where it ended. At the age of 7, Carlo himself told his mother that he wanted to have his first communion. And while we're on the subject of Mrs. Antonia Salzano, the mother of the now blessed boy, not long ago she gave an interview in which she spoke of how much her son's faith surprised her when he was just a child. And it was not only that, but Antonia came from a rather intellectual family, far from any trace of religious faith. In fact, according to what she said in her interview, although she had been baptized under the Catholic faith, in all her life she had attended a church service only 3 times: her baptism, her first communion, and the day she got married. For that reason, when she saw the enormous fervor that her little son had developed, she decided to study theology in order to be able to answer all of the doubts and concerns of the curious Carlo. Because of this, Antonia said that her son had been her salvation. But then, if the child did not grow up in a home where Catholic faith was instilled, how did he develop such an interest and fervor? Well, it turns out that the person responsible was his nanny, a Polish woman who, as a game of fate, is called Beata, and it just so happens that her name is the Italian word for blessed. But in addition to his deep faith, Carlo was not much different from any other boy his age. In fact, according to his mother, her son was a glutinous Nutella and ice cream fanatic, so much that in between jokes, Antonia said that he got a little bit chubby. However, it was precisely his gluttony and weight that made him look for a balance in his life. The young boy began to write down his progress in a diary that was given to him. On top of that, the boy also wrote down if for any reason he had been unable to control his anger or desire to eat any extra snacks. In general, according to his mother, Carlo was very strict with himself and was very self-disciplined. Antonia also remembers that although the family's finances allowed them to hire cleaning ladies, it did not seem right to him. He knew that although it was part of their job, he couldn't just understand why they had to clean up their mess. And while we're on the topic of the Acutis household employees, according to the Footprints magazine, one of them was practicing Hindu named Rajesh. He and Carlo became very good friends, so good that Raj had become so infected with the young man's faith and beliefs that he decided to convert to Catholicism. It was he who told the people at the magazine about his experience, and this is what he had to say. "I always considered him as someone out of the ordinary because as a boy so young, so handsome, and so rich usually prefers to lead a different life." And if we talk about wealth, his mother remembers Carlo as a boy with a huge, kind, and charitable heart. In fact, as far as she knows, with his first savings, her son bought a sleeping bag for a homeless person he always ran into when he went to church service. This can be related to a part written in his diary that I've previously mentioned. The sentence reads as follows: "Sadness is looking at oneself. Happiness is looking at God. Conversion is nothing more than turning one's gaze from below to above. A simple movement of the eyes is enough." Well, you might say, well, of course she could say that. She's his mother. Which mother doesn't talk well about her kids? It turns out that she's not the only one who has such great memories of Carlo, but his own classmates as well. They claim that he was a boy with enormous charisma who could bring a smile to even the grumpiest teacher in the whole school. Besides, he always had good advice to give to each of them when they needed help with something. And even before that, I told you that although he was a fervent Catholic, at the same time, he was just a young teenager and as such also liked technology and the internet. However, unlike many of his peers, he decided to squeeze some good out of the social networks. We say this because since he was in elementary school, Carlo learned to code, edit video games and create animations, and years later he created a website where, among other things, he explained and cataloged Christian miracles. Unfortunately, in early of October 2006, Carlo was diagnosed with M3 leukemia, which is considered the most aggressive and devastating for patients suffering from it. It was so aggressive that just a few days after being diagnosed, on October 12th, he passed away at the San Gerardo de Monza hospital. Before his life ended, Carlo himself had recorded a video in which he asked that in the event of his untimely passing, he be buried in the city of Assisi, and I can tell you that his wish was fulfilled. Now, I am sure you are asking yourself the question as to why he has been beatified, am I right? Well, 7 years after Carlo's passing, in 2013, there was a case of a 3-year-old Brazilian boy who had been cured of a rare congenital disease known as annular pancreas and began to circulate in the press. And it turns out that the priest came to the little boy at the request of the family and said a prayer dedicated to Carlo Acutis. Then, he made the little boy touch a piece of cloth from the pajamas that belonged to the young Italian. The little boy no longer had to undergo the delicate surgery that was scheduled in an attempt to try to save his life. He had been cured, and the doctors could not explain how. For the Congregation of the Causes of the Saints, the event was considered a miracle, so they nominated Carlo for beatification. However, the sudden and surprising recovery of the little Brazilian boy was not the only thing that began to be considered one of Carlo's miracles. When his grave was exposed, many were astonished to see that the body was in perfect condition, intact and uncorrupted. As soon as that happened, many began to say that it was one more proof from heaven itself that Carlo should be beatified, since this was surely nothing more than a miracle. When the rumors started going around of him possibly being beatified, people online had begun to dub him as the patron saint for the internet. There is, however, a patron saint of it already, Saint Isidor of Seville, who was declared one in 1997 by Pope John Paul II. The thing is that he passed away in 636 AD, so you know, just a couple of years before the internet had even been thought of as a concept. The Pope's reasons was because Isidor is known for trying to record everything ever known in an encyclopedia, a bit like the internet, so it makes sense in a way. However, wouldn't an actual millennial be a better patron of the internet? What do you think, curious? Now, to put an end to the rumors and the controversy that these had generated among intellectuals and the scientific community that contradicted the beliefs that something like this was possible, the Catholic Church itself, in the voice of the Bishop of the Diocese of Assisi, Domenico Sorrentino, explained the misunderstanding. As explained by the ecclesiastical authority, when they exhumed the body, it was obviously in the normal state of decomposition in which any other person would be found. However, various reconstruction and conservation techniques were used to make it possible to expose the body to the faithful. For the restoration of the face, a silicone mask was used. In addition, Carlo's body was dressed in a pair of jeans, a pair of Nike sneakers, and a sweatshirt, the type of clothing he usually wore in life. A few days ago on October 10th, Carlo Acutis was finally beatified in the Basilica of St. Francis of Assisi after Cardinal Agostino Vellini read the official decree issued by Pope Francis. The tomb of the now blessed boy, also known as the Influencer of God, was on display at the Sanctuary of Exploitation in Assisi until Monday, the 19th of October, so that the faithful could attend and venerate it. So tell me, curious, did you know the story of Carlo Acutis? What do you think of the reason that led to his beatification? Do you agree that, like him, other young people can also make good use of the internet? Or do you think that it is all just negative stuff? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, don't forget to like and share and subscribe to our channel, and I will see you again tomorrow with another video.